taking a critical look at the gaming news of the week. This is Augmented Reality, presented by the Triple S League.
Hey everybody, and welcome to the Wednesday show. This is the Augmented Reality Podcast, your source for news, leaks, and insights about games in the gaming industry. It's February 5th, 2020, and my name is Ash. I'm here as always with Cybsidian, who you've been suffering from a little bit of inability to reformat your filing systems and such. What we would call sleep among humans is a thing we do, but you've unfortunately had a little newcomer in your household that you've had to take care of.
Mm-hmm. It's been very, very, very touch and go. It was really rough yesterday. She starting at, I don't know, good Lord. Time is something that you lose when you have little ones to take care of.
I know that well.
It was the Tuesday morning, basically, at 1 in the morning, where things started to go sideways a little bit. Managed to get to the vet, managed to, figure some stuff out. Prognosis wasn't great, but now I'm feeding her by hand, and I'm taking great care every 30 minutes. We're I've moved into basically primary care. Because Mama Puppy just is not. She's not doing a good job. She's fussing too much, and she keeps moving the baby, which is really, really, really bad for her. Yeah, she'll run around the house for an hour if I let her, with the puppy in her mouth, just running back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, not knowing what she wants or what she's doing. And that's really, 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 really bad for a runt. Let alone
for sure. For context, we're talking about the surprise puppy that was born just before our previous podcast, and became rather popular on Saturday's show. And we've got a channel devoted to puppy news updates on on our Discord server. So check that out. I got a couple of new pictures for you, though. Here's a couple of
a few rough ones. I don't want to I'm trying not to move her for the sake of taking pictures or video, just trying to do what I can. So she's moving, which is good. That was only a few seconds apart. So yesterday she got to a point where she was almost comatose for about 4 hours and wasn't moving at all.
It was a little worrisome. Worrisome there. So I was glad to hear that puppy's doing a little better today, and
she's doing a lot better today.
So are a lot of people on our server. So we'll keep you updated. But so you see that's Mama Puppy there, and the baby is underneath sort of her nose there. Two different shots. No fate. We this dog's already a movie star. We put out a video featuring her on our YouTube channel yesterday. And she's just been kind of a star on our YouTube channel here. It's very exciting, and we're hoping for the best. She is a little premature or very small at least, and not in the best health, but
tiny. Very tiny.
Very, very, very tiny. You can see her on Cyb's hand at one point in the video we put out. She is so tiny, but a bit of a celebrity, and has sort of taken on the nickname CyberPup. So, yes, all the best, CyberPup. We're rooting for you. All right, let's get into the news for the day. So, there is a new Cyberpunk 2077 interview going around, and it should be approached with a little bit of suspicion, a little bit of a very, very big grain of salt. We have reason to believe that the interview is suspect. We will get into the reasons for that, and we're also going to address Blizzard's response to their Warcraft 3 Reforged controversy. It seems like everything that Blizzard does is a controversy these days. It's really, really not a good time to be Blizzard Entertainment. So we will, we'll dive into that as well. But hello to everybody who is busy talking in the live chat. And if you're listening live, please do say hello there. We'll We'll answer as many of your comments and questions as we can throughout the podcast today. And please don't forget to slam that like button. It likes it rough. And it tells us and YouTube that you appreciate this content. The like button does not mind if you carry it around the house, in your mouth all day. Unlike CyberPup. It's not good for CyberPup, but you can be as rough as you want with that like button. If you're listening after the fact on one of the audio-only platforms, we're glad you're here as well, and we appreciate your likes and follows. It does take us a day or two to get the podcast up to the audio platform, so if you want the latest info sooner, please subscribe to the Triple S League YouTube channel. You'll find a bunch of other content there as well. All right. Hello to... we've got tons of people in the chat. Hello, everybody. All right. So this new Cyberpunk 2077 interview. Now, this is not something we would necessarily really address, except that it's being sourced by tons and tons of news articles as being authoritative, and it's an interview from onmsft.com, and it's supposedly an interview with CD Projekt Red's John Mummays, who is
now we spoke with we spoke about this on Sunday on the community podcast, but we've gotten some more clarification on things now. The article is, so whenever you show up to do a lot of these interviews, especially with like big AAA companies or big companies that have a huge game to show off, their PR departments usually track every single interview, so they write down who was interviewing whom, what the topics were, roughly. Sometimes it's roughly. Sometimes they just straight up just copy, record them. But there's usually typically a list developed as to who is talking, who did the interview, and what exactly is the content of that interview. And especially in the days of attack journalism, it's like you have to do that because you have to be prepared to find out, what the truth of something is. So the first thing that kind of was a red flag was that some people over at the company went, we don't have a record of this interview. So that's the first kind of red light of hold on.
Those are people at CD Projekt Red.
That stated we don't have a record of this interview, more or less. I'm not going to get into exact things because again, I'm not looking to call out the interviewer. He's fairly new, apparently. Kind of like a freelance person. So I don't want to dump on him, and I don't want to necessarily try and be overly problematic, but I do want to give the context for everybody listening that you really should take this as a rumor, because basically after having gone through it, again, the staff and some other diligent people have basically come back and said, okay, so each of these are clips from other interviews. And this has just been mashed together. And again, because they don't have a record, doesn't mean it didn't happen, but they don't have a record of the actual interview taking place, and that some of the information is, we can go on record here as saying that some of the information is not accurate. Some of it is not.
What's really weird about it too is that as written, this article would have had to have taken place within the past month because it took place after the announcement of the game's delay. So really,
supposedly,
but if you just read
the original article was stated that this was done back in September.
The interview article.
That.
Yeah. I've only seen the current version. So
the actual interviewer stated that originally this was taken in September, but there's things that are out of time and out of sync with reality as far as what we know. And this is one of the other things that was a huge red flag to us on the weekend, talking about this on the community podcast. on the Cyberpunk community podcast, because we were like, this seems really weird that this was done in September. It's just now coming out, and it includes information that has only recently been put out by an official sources on stuff that they did not know back in September. So again, this is why I want to be very, 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 very clear on this, that something is not going on.
Something's something's not right.
Something sketchy is going on with this, because again, it's like some of this information seems to have been pulled out recently, whereas in the original article on the MS.net or whatever it was called, clearly stated that this was done back in September.
Right. The website is, it's spelled onmsft.com, and so it's on MSFT, whatever that means. And the thing about it is, it's not written like an article. It's written like an interview transcript. They even there's a paragraph at the beginning just saying, I sat down with John Mames and we talked about this and this and this. Then it launches into like a question and answer format, like a transcript of an interview. It even has like bracketed off little things where it says, oh, so-and-so laughed here. Like, oh, the Jetsons got it wrong, I suppose. Laughs. Or maybe we're still going to look like the Jetsons one day. That's one. So that's just one bit of the article I just read there. So, it's written as if this is a direct transcript, which is very, very weird. Because, like Cyb said, there's interviews. Like, if this interview took place back in September, they could not possibly be talking about the 2020 release date, which they do. Like, there's a whole section in here about them talking about, oh, was it planned for the year 2020? Because it was, because of the original Cyberpunk 2020 game, and oh no, it was supposed to come out earlier, which is accurate, but why would they be talking about that in an interview back in September? That wouldn't make any sense.
Yeah, so like I said, there's I'm finding discrepancies now actually with the original article on the original website. It seems to have been tweaked now, by the looks of it.
One of the funniest things I find is that apparently John Mames talks about Johnny Silverman. Johnny Silverman comes from the lore of the original game. It's really, really weird, but it
could have been a typo.
It could be, but that's just kind of like, how do you? That could just be an innocent mistake, but just on top of everything else, it's kind of like, what? So anyway, it's a very suspect interview. We don't know what the real story is with this. I don't know what to. Again, we're not going after the author of the article. We're not trying to. Now, I did reach out for comment. I did reach out to the author to ask, could you please clear up where and when you interviewed John Mames? There's no mention of it in the article. If we hear back, and if it somehow turns out that this is legit in some weird way, we will, of course, correct the record. Also, it's important to note that it's not necessarily the author whose name is on the article that's responsible for any misdoing here. If somebody is editing the article after the fact, like Cyb was talking about, it could be an editor at the website. The original author, like, we don't know what kind of format the original author would have submitted this in, and if somebody is making changes after the fact. So we're not calling out the author here to say, oh, this person is lying or anything like that. That's not what we're doing here. We don't know the story. We don't know what's going on. But what we're doing is we're saying this information is very suspect. And this whole interview is very suspect. It's not something that should be taken as authoritative, especially since we've got CD Projekt Red representatives telling us, no, we don't have a record of this. And we even have a statement from Lalaya, the community manager, that I'll read in a minute here. But this interview is being taken as authoritative by a lot of news sources. So you're going to see a lot of articles. There's already a lot of them out there talking
Ton
about.
of them.
You're talking about
Ton of them.
Cyberpunk VR, the DLC, whether it might come to the Nintendo Switch. One specific thing that I saw several articles about was the street stories, and about how there's going to be about around 75 street stories, which are like minor side quests within the game. They're meant to sort of enrich the world and the story. They're not like expansive in terms of story. It's not. They don't have like massive cinematics and stuff, but they're like small stories, small quests that sort of flesh out the world. And we know that is true, that those are going to be in the game. And Lalaya confirms that in her statement, which she gave to the Neon Arcade. By the way, he's got a video coming out, I believe, tomorrow about this entire situation. I recommend you subscribe to his channel and check that out. But Lalaya's statement is that, from what we know, this interview / article is a mix of old interviews from PAX Australia. Wouldn't bother with it. Those are his words. Those are her words. I wouldn't bother with this one. And she says the only 100% legit part is that there are street stories. Which we already knew.
Not that there are 75 street stories.
Not that there are 75 street stories, but that there are street stories. Which are, again, like miniature side quests.
Well, they're not miniature side quests, because a side quest, depending on who you talk to, again, it's this whole thing about like properly like clarifying what you mean. For some people, a side quest is, hey, run over there, press that button, come back to me, or like some fetch quest, or like go kill 5 rats and then come back. It's really, 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 really small, typically. A side quest for other people, and typically for CDPR, means that it's like this little side story where you talk to this person, you find out some backstory, turns out that their kid's missing or something like that, so you go out to try and find the kid, and you encounter some more story bits, and it's kind of like a moral choice that can happen, and then you come back and boom, that's the quest, which is, that could take you an hour. Right, just doing that, So again, side quests are. It's not. I don't think it's the correct wording for it. They are using the word street quests, which is correct. But how many of them and the degree of them, I really don't like hearing this, because again, and I'm shocked at how many people saw this article, did zero research.
Yeah. Well, my first question was, because it's not written in here in the current version of the article, where and when. Clearly it's happened. If this was a straight up interview, like if you just take this article at face value, the interview has to have happened in 2020, which is just over a month old. It has to have happened after the announcement of the release date getting pushed back to September. Where? Like the Taipei Game Show was supposed to happen this week, but it didn't. So, like, where was the... where did this interview happen? Like, no information is given about that.
There's also some other very odd things, very, very odd things that I need to point out about the person directly on this. Their Twitter account is really weird. And again, I'm only pointing this out because this is something that when you're researching people who are making claims, it's like you should research something about it. And things that are odd is where in one bio it says one thing, and in another bio it says something completely different. So in this person's active bio on the ON website, it says that they live in Japan, whereas this person's Twitter account says they live in Australia. The Twitter account itself they're following well over 5,000 people, and they have about 4,000 followers, most of which are people who they also follow. So that's kind of weird. I mean, it's a form of like, follow trading, right? So it's kind of a common thing. but it's usually something that you want to like be kind of like aware of, because if you get somebody who's got 4,000 followers and they're following 5,000 people, and a lot of that's like spammy accounts, like accounts that are kind of spamish, and they're making tweets and they're getting like 1 to 2 interactions on those tweets. It's like okay, something's a little fishy there. And I mean, we had this too early on in dealing with Twitter, right from the get go. I think I might have said Twitch. No, I'm talking about Twitter. That's what I'm talking about right now. I didn't mean to bring in Twitch into the thing, but yeah. So here on Twitter, it is kind of weird, that they have this set up. And again, I don't want to necessarily call them out, but I do want to point out, like, suspect stuff. And so that leads me to say that we can go off of what we're hearing from pretty much everywhere else, where it's like, okay, this article, not a lot of truth to it. And again, there's no record from the PR crew or the person that he supposedly interviewed that he actually talked to this guy. So John Mamaeus does not remember this conversation, as far as I have heard, which is not a guarantee, but it's kind of, that's what I've heard. So
yeah, so take all of it with a big grain of salt. So we're not going to really cover a ton of the info in here, because again, it could be suspect. None of it's confirmed really, other than, yes, there are these street stories, which we already knew about, though that's been public information for quite a while, and I'm actually very interested to find out what these things are like, what they're about. All right, anything more about Cyberpunk? There's the cool new artwork that has been released as a wallpaper. You see it on the thumbnail today, and on the screen if you're watching on YouTube. You can get that right on the cyberpunk.net website. You can download it, and at high res, it's very awesome looking. Neon Arcade, who is in the chat, and says his Facebook is even more suspect. There's zero congruency to anything he shares. It's all over the map. It's just odd. Yeah. So we don't know what's going on. Like I said, I did reach out to this individual to say, hey, where'd you do this interview? Where and when? Could you please let us know?
We should have a chat one day about how leaks work, and how somebody shows up and just posts a leak with an account that's basically like a throwaway account. That's always more believable than somebody who has an account that's been around for many years, that claims to, has very mixed claims on who they are, what they do, and then just kind of like fades away into nothing, but then comes out and posts stuff. That's always a little bit more suspect, because in the world of like putting out information, putting out leaks, typically you want anonymity. So if somebody posts something to 4chan and says, hey, here's some info, it's always worth a read, and then you do what you normally do, and you come at it very deductively and go, okay, I'm going to check this, I'm going to check that. And those, I mean, those, there is both good and bad leaks that have come out of places like that, and from accounts like that. But with accounts where it's like I've got 10,000 followers, but you're also following 12,000 people, which I was going to say earlier. Like we had that early on when we had somebody working for us. Their concept of like getting us lots of Twitter followers was to just follow thousands of other accounts, and then those accounts would follow us back. And I'm like, and I was like, no, we're not doing this. And we went through, and we had to like clear out like so much like just garbage in our Twitter feed.
Yeah, because we actually use our Twitter feed to get information. We only want, like, we don't need thousands of random.
So it is a new mistake, and that was definitely a newbie mistake. But I mean, that was also a few years ago. So, but it's this like there's just too much that's really suspect, and then of course it's like straight up on so it's just straight up, it's weird, it's odd, and so we want to I just want to make sure that it's quite clear. So don't believe this thing for anything of what it's worth, because I don't think any of this info is actually true. Just going through it, there's a lot of clips from not that it's all lies, that it's that
Yeah,
the
some of it, a
interview is
lot of
like
the info may be accurate, but I mean, when you don't when you
yeah, but
can't trust the
it's
source,
also
it's like,
stuff. Yeah, there's also like one of the questions that was asked was answered in the exact same way. Now that's not uncommon, but I do find it kind of weird that he asks the same question and then gets the exact same response that has been in other videos before, or that have been written by other journalists in the exact same way, like identical. And so I have a sneaking suspicion that it was basically copy paste. Sorry for swinging back around to this, but I wanted to.
no, that's okay. We'll dig into this. We'd ask
Mhm.
our audience, of course, to not bother the author about this. I mean,
Yeah,
don't go after them on, or anything like that. Just ignore it for now. We'll keep an eye on it. If we get any additional information, we will, of course, update you. But otherwise, it's just something to be aware of for your own info, that don't necessarily believe everything you hear about this article. But anyway, anything else Cyberpunk related we want to, before we get onto Blizzard, that you want to talk about?
No, there's going to be more stuff coming. Obviously, we don't know how much, how fast, or exactly when, but obviously there's going to be stuff coming, and they do like Valentine's Day, so I would say keep your ear to the ground for that. It's only like just over a week away now, so that's coming up very closely. So yeah, kind of like this is where we're expecting to get some more info. There should also be quite possibly another like actual article, actual interview article dropping sometime soon. So there's going to be that and some other stuff. So just kind of keep your ear to the ground. It's still kind of quiet. We're just out of January. January is typically a really quiet month. Their biggest thing in January was the big sale that they put up on their merch store. Just in case you hadn't spent enough money from Christmas. But and they yeah, that was kind of funny because they were like, oh yeah, there's gonna be this big thing coming out. And then it was a sale. Now it's a big sale. It's a big thing, and if you buy merch, it saved you a lot of money. But it wasn't what everybody was hoping for, which was actual like new info. The Taipei thing that has been postponed, possibly canceled for the year. We don't know. It's kind of up in the air right now. It is for sure not happening, or was supposed to happen just this last few days here, but for sure did not happen. CDPR did something though. They did send out a new video with some more Chinese stuff. More sorry, not Chinese stuff. More Mandarin speaking video. It was geared directly to their Chinese audience, and yeah, people were able to watch that. Nothing new in there. I wouldn't, there was still the rumors. Would they not have any info that was denied, that they weren't going to be bringing new info to the show? They definitely, I don't think we're going to bring it out after the fact. Like, there's going to be other opportunities to make some kind of a showcase to their Chinese fans, and so Chinese Taiwan fans, and it's something that obviously is like take your time. Right now, really not a great time to be doing it. Lots of crazy things going over there, and again, just generally because it's really super newsworthy. Take your precautions. The human race has had to suffer from a pandemic once every 100 years. We are super late for one, thanks to modern medicine, thanks to hand washing and a whole bunch of other really healthy things. So yes, we can potentially push that off indefinitely. However, it's also a good habit to just have safety supplies at home, extra food, canned food, stuff like that, water. It's like if you live in an apartment building and you don't have like at least two 40 or 20-gallon jugs, like something holding enough water just in case there's some issue where you're stuck in your apartment for a couple of days and there's no water coming through the taps. It's like that is actually Very sound advice. There's nothing hysterical or crazy about that. So take care of yourselves because, things are a little crazy right now and yeah.
All right.
But yeah,
Yeah.
sorry to digress on that issue, but it's been super everywhere right now.
Oh
And
no,
I've been
it's big
talking
news.
about
It's
it
big news,
nonstop.
and yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, it's be smart out there.
Yeah, and
Take
that's
care of
all. I mean, that's all
yourselves.
you can
Yeah.
do is like just be smart. During the wintertime, wear gloves. Don't rub your eyes. Don't try not to pick your nose or anything like that. It's just all about just being smart and not doing things that typically get you sick. And at best case scenario, you avoid getting the standard cold or flu that you normally would get. So it's good.
I don't have to worry about spare water at my place. I've got about 3 feet of it in solidified form just sitting on my front lawn. So, I mean, the taps turn off, I'll be good for a while. All right. Sean Smith says whether it would be 25 or 75 street stories, I'm intrigued on how these street stories are going to take you further downward the spiral of Night City. Yeah, absolutely. And that's what I'm picturing these being is just stories that really immersify you in the environment and give you a taste of life in Night City. Like they're not going to affect or have an impact on the main storyline. We know that the side quests will be impacting the main quest, depending on how you do side quests or if you do side quests can have an impact on the main quest. But these street stories, from what we understand, are going to be just something separate, purely about just small stories within the world, being immersed in the Night City environment.
And we don't really know exactly how those things are played out. We don't know exactly how or the contrast between main quests, side quests, and street quests, and how they rank in like difficulty or like how they're presented to the player. Like it could be that that there's a number of street quests that are rolled based off of your background. So like whether you're a nomadic street gang or corporate type, those quests might be different, or your potential endings might be different. And it's again depending on how light or how impactful they are that can significantly change your story, and would offer you at least three different very unique experiences through three different playthroughs of the different backgrounds making the different choices, because you're gonna have a morally questionable ending, probably for sure. We can kind of that's kind of been like heavily rumored for a very long time now.
If any of the endings are not morally questionable in some way, I'll be surprised.
Yeah. So
Considering the kind of
again,
game this
no
is, yeah.
no no secret inside info here. Just really just plain old logic here with this. It's like yeah, it's very clearly potentially that's kind of what's going to happen. Then to have a little bit of less, more of a happier ending, right? A little bit more good times, a little bit more smiles. That's completely, possible. And then something that's kind of falls in the middle. If there's not three endings, there'll be three unique-ish, more unique-ish type endings. I would be shocked, but yeah, at least three, possibly more. So again, not saying anything. I'm just saying what typically, what we typically see and we typically expect throughout, this kind of stuff. So, yeah. Overall, I would approach it that way. It's like yeah, street. The gameplay has three routes that you can play, and from combat you can see we have the peaceful route, we have the negotiating, kind of like hardball route / sneaky route, and then we have the guns blazing route through just combat and stuff. So really, there is three distinct ways at the very minimum that you play the game, maybe even more, and the number of endings that you can have are also again quite extensive. I'll bring this example up before because we talked about how a pacifist ending might not always be your happy ending. Just because you're a pacifist doesn't mean that I use the example of like if somebody's kidnapped and your only way of like getting that person out just based off of what ends up happening throughout the story is if you go in guns blazing. So if you are the pacifist, kid's gonna die or kidnappee is gonna die. That's an example, not a leak. But that's the example of what might happen through various playthroughs. Is like if you're playing through on a passive route and if you're not willing to pull the trigger, so to speak, bad things might happen and you might be forced to take a darker route than you normally would have if you were trying to do a best ending, trying to bring as much justice as you can to the cruel streets of Night City. That is not something that you can do without bloodshed in most cases, not most cases, just in a lot of cases in this type of world. It's like you're going to be forced to pull the trigger if you want to enact some level of justice. But if you want to be completely pacifist, then that's a different reaction as well. So we're going to see how those different things play out, and right now those are just examples of what we are expected to see and how some of these side stories and some of these street stories are expected to be factored into the gameplay overall. So it'll be very interesting.
Absolutely. Robin is wondering, any news of new music? I haven't heard anything about new music.
I am positive that I'm winking heavily here. I am positive that they're going to take every opportunity to expand their music library as they can, so long as they still have the budget for it.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. But there haven't been any announcements recently.
There hasn't been any announcements, and if there are, that would be a fairly major announcement. If any of that happens, that kind of announcement is something that I would expect to show up around a major announcement. So like E3. That's where I'd really expect to see that come out, is like, hey, we have, because they're going to push that again. Oh, you 100% bet you they're going to push that, here's all of the bands. They're going to push that at least one more time because, musicians love people talking about them. And sometimes sometimes it's in your contract. So
yeah, well, yeah.
There's going to be some format or some way that's going to be advertising the music of Cyberpunk 2077. There's like this is a guarantee. At some point, the marketing is going to focus on the music. Whether that includes more yet, we don't know yet. So yeah, just keep that in mind.
Mm-hmm. Yes, minimum of 3 promo videos featuring me. Also, only red M&Ms.
Yeah.
That's what I understand music contracts are like. Okay. All right, well, I guess we might as well go ahead and move on to the Blizzard thing. Of course, we love seeing the great conversation happening in the live chat. Keep it going. If you want to keep the conversation going after the live broadcast, we welcome you to join our Discord community. You can find the link in the description below. It's a place where you can chat with us and other Triple S community members about all the things that we love to talk about. Stay up to date about everything that we're doing here at the Triple S League. Click the link below to join. Be sure to say hi to us in the welcome channel. You can also request topics for us to discuss on the podcast or do videos about that kind of thing. Lots going on over there all the time. It's a great community. All right.
Mm-hmm.
So Blizzard.
Also, if you want updates on the puppy, it's the best place.
Yeah, there's a room there for puppy updates.
Yeah, I've set up a little chat thingy there, and I show I'm sharing some pics and videos when I can. Things are really touch and go right now. To update everybody who's popped in since then. Yes, I have a brand new puppy. She's about 5 days old now, and she's in a rough spot. Things are a little shaky, but they're getting better. Yesterday it was really, 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 really bad. Grim Reaper showed up at my door, knocked on the door. I opened the door, was like, "Hey, Joe, why are you here?" And he's like, "Hey, I'm here for the thing." I'm like, "Oh, no, you're not." And he's like, "Well, and I'm like, "Oh, no." And I stared him right in the eye, and I was like, "No, you're going to turn around, you're going to walk away, you're going to go down to that little cafe on the corner and drink some coffee, and then you're going to take off. That's what you're going to do. You're going to say, I came and I couldn't find anything and I had to leave. That's what you're going to say." And he was like, "Oh, man, Cyb, I can't do this all the time for you." And I'm like, I'm not hearing any of it. I'm not hearing any of it. So Yeah, so that's what I told the Grim Reaper. By the way, I definitely do not advise that you stare into the Grim Reaper's eyes. It's horrifying, to say the least.
All right, puppy pictures on the screen again to make everybody happy before we dive into Blizzard, because that's going to bring you all down. So we want to even you out. So there's the puppy pictures again. Okay, so I love Tara K's comment here. I prefer chatting here. If I chat in the Blizzard forums, they own everything I say, and they can patch it to make it worse in a decade, too. Yes.
Man, this whole thing has just like Blizzard is crashing and burning right now spectacularly.
So let's give a brief recap and then dive into the situation now. So Warcraft 3 Reforged came out. It was a mess. It did not deliver on promises Blizzard had made for the game. Things did not work did not work well. There was all kinds of problems with it. Yeah, things didn't work as well.
Some people are having a great experience. I was talking to one guy, and he says he loves it. It's a great experience. Everything's fine. But he's a very casual, laid-back person who doesn't get upset at very much. So I'm gonna just say potentially a little bit. A little bit on the side there, but yeah. And Max Durrett, thank you for the super chat. And yes, Blizzard 2019, they said we'll respond faster from now on, and then Warcraft 3 comes out, and it's not Warcraft 3 the Reforged, it's the Warcraft 3 deforged or I don't know. It's just a mess.
Yeah, it looks like a very low budget product that was rushed. It did not deliver on promises. Plus, then they went and
they still have ads. They still have ads showing, look at the difference. And then you get into the game and it's not any different. The thing that they were showing to advertise the game doesn't exist in the game.
No,
it's like those movies where you guys, and I know this has happened a few times. You see a trailer for a movie and there's this really cool scene in the trailer and you're like, wow, that's so cool. And then you go see the movie and that scene, not in the movie, it got cut. So you're going there expecting to see this cool thing that you saw in the trailer, except it's not there.
And it's like every scene.
Advertising.
It's like every scene in the trailer. In this case, it's like Rogue One. But yeah, it's blatant false advertising that's been happening, and then Blizzard were not offering refunds to people for a while. They have apparently opened that back up again, but for a while we were getting reports that they were banning people on their forums who were advising other people about how to get refunds. So they really, really went down the rabbit hole on that one. But apparently they've smartened up a little bit and are putting out they are giving out refunds now. And they also gave us an apology/update statement that we're going to read bits of here, and it just comes across as incredibly tone deaf, and actually I wanted to use the word
really, really rude.
Yeah, rude. Oh, that's a perfect word. Disrespect. I was going to use disrespectful in the title today, but it wouldn't fit because I have a limit of 100 characters. And so I changed it to tone deaf, but rude. Why didn't I think of rude? Okay, so it says, Hail, War 3 players. We've been following the discussions the past couple of days and want to thank you for your feedback as well as your support. First off, we want to say we're sorry to those of you who didn't have the experience you wanted. Okay, pause there for a second. You mean it's the experience you advertised? The experience that you said they'd be getting, that they then ordered and paid for?
It's like, we're sorry that you thought you were getting a different product. This is apparently your fault, not ours.
It's your fault for believing our advertising.
Like, how dare you? You think that this game was going to have something that you wanted in it? Talk about privileged. That's what it comes off as.
Yes, you demanding entitled gamers. You feel like you're entitled to the product that we advertised for. Yeah, when you pay for it. What were they thinking? What are all you thinking? Don't you have phones? Okay,
Yeah.
so then they say we'd like to share our plans for what's coming next. A few hours during launch day, we experienced the server load issues that impacted the players' abilities to log in. So that's just kind of that's something to be expected. So anyway, they've fixed that apparently. So, and then they say we want to. We've seen community feedback about different aspects of Reforged that we want to take some time to address. Before we go on, the team is excited that Warcraft 3 Reforged is finally upon us, and we're fully committed to supporting the game for a long time to come. The next few patches and updates we'll discuss below are just part of our ongoing plans. This game is an integral part of the Blizzard DNA, with a team that loves Warcraft 3, and we're looking forward to pouring our hearts into Reforged and the Warcraft 3 community for the long term. Okay, where was that while you were developing this game? Like,
Yeah.
what you know, have the lowest game score on Metacritic. Where was that love for this product that is core to the Blizzard DNA? Like, who are you trying to fool here?
Right.
Any comments on that side, or you want me to just go on here?
No, this is depressing. No, keep going.
All right, so they talk about a couple of patches and bugs, UI fixes. Another area of concern we're seeing is regarding online features such as leaderboards and clans, which applies to all Warcraft 3 players, including those who haven't purchased Reforged. At BlizzCon, we talked a lot about how the team is actively working on standing up the back end to ensure a smooth transition to this new MMR system, much like we did with StarCraft Remastered. As with Remastered, these and other features will also be included in a major patch for Reforged, which will also address the issue for players of the original game. We'll share release plans as work progresses in the coming weeks. Please be assured that the team is hard at work on standing these features up. What the heck? What does that mean, standing these features up?
It means that they put out features that were absolutely and totally not ready to be put out. And again, the thing that messes this, that's just shocking on this, is that they did this, and then they applied this to the original game completely. You can't play original Warcraft 3 anymore.
Even if you own the original Warcraft 3 and you didn't buy Reforged, yeah, they changed it. They changed the original Warcraft 3 game. That I find disgusting.
Now, doesn't work. And I mean, this just keeps getting better and better. So the previous game that held the absolutely lowest score on Metacritic was Day One Gary's Incident. People actually went out of their way to go buy a copy and like to raise it just a little bit in its rating, just so that they could get Warcraft 3 down to the lowest score, period. And you can go check out some. I just read one of Day One Gary's Incident's more recent reviews. It's like, it's absolute garbage, except it's slightly better than only slightly better than Warcraft 3 Reforged. I was like, oh, that's funny. Oh, that's funny. And again, I mean, review trashing and brigading and that kind of stuff. I mean, I get why devs don't like it. Devs really don't like it. But at the same time, it's like, most of the time it doesn't happen for something that for a reason that's not well deserved. And again, sometimes it's the only way that players can actually speak out against things that they don't like showing up in these games.
Right.
So,
and I don't like it as a consumer of reviews, because I want to know that I'm getting an accurate picture of the and I can't trust the corporate reviewers, the Axis journalists who review things. So I need those user reviews, and I don't want to have those review brigades in there. It's still funny sometimes, though.
But I mean, this is what happens when you have certain companies that, like, there are certain review companies, there's certain websites that will not rate a game below a 6 out of 10. They will not do it. They have a rule against it. There is no game that gets below a 6.0 because they don't want to upset the publishers or the game devs.
No, of
And
course. Access journalism is a very real thing. I've heard reviewers admit to it.
But yeah, no, this is what everybody in the chat is saying, that Blizzard is basically dead. And this is true. You never, ever, ever, ever. I mean, how many games did they scrap because they weren't perfect? How many games were like really close to being pretty good that they just scrapped because no, it's not pushing the experience any better. It's not doing anything new. It's not the forefront of technology or hardware or something like that. They did this over and over and over and over again, and we lost a lot of great content because of that rule. But supposedly we got a better end result of content. Apparently that was the sacrifice. But now all of that's out through the window. We are now getting just things that are destroying not just new games but old games from Blizzard. And the biggest move that they made on this, I know you were going to get to it, is that whatever mods you make for the game now, they own completely.
That's not part of this statement,
not just
but
they
apparently...
have a right to do whatever they want, with that mod on their servers. No. If you go in, create some custom art assets, you create some custom units, you poured in some music, you make some new UI changes, you put that into the game, and boom, you have a new game mode that everybody loves. This has happened before. It happened with Dota. The original Dota was on the Warcraft 3 multiplayer mod. It was just a thing that people came up with, that the community drove. All of that work that you do is now 100% owned by Blizzard. Period.
Yeah, even
all of the custom
original assets that you create for the mod. If you put them in the game, apparently Blizzard owns them.
So I just want everybody who's a modder for, has any experience with modding for Warcraft 3, to please make a mod where loyal citizens of a place called, some mythical Warcraft island called Hong Kong, totally mythical, no connection with, reality, is fighting against the evils of the CP or the CCP, maybe make it like that. Just something really distinctive. Again, completely random off the top of my head, where they're fighting against these waves and waves of zombie-like CCP enforcers that are coming to take over the island and execute anybody who disagrees with their particular rule. Maybe somebody should make that mod and then really advertise it over in, places like China. Would be really cool, because then Blizzard owns this 100%, lock, stock, and barrel. It is their content.
Yeah.
Would be really funny if that happened. Again, no correlation to anything that's currently ongoing.
Of course not. No, of course.
Just random thoughts off the top of my head.
Mm-hmm. All right, so even their best attempts to make things better seem to be making the situation with Blizzard worse, is what I meant to say. That doesn't come with that. That's not part of the apology statement they made. What Cyb is referring to there is what's in the game's EULA, the end user license agreement, that thing that they make you agree to before you can install and play the game, which most of us don't read. We probably should, because who knows? There might be they might start putting terms in there like, we own every file on any computer that you install this on. If you if you disagree, get a refund. Yeah. Robin Green's got a good idea for this mod. Someone help her out there, or him out. Not sure. Robin, I apologize. Don't know what gender you are. It was kind of an awkward moment there. So anyway, Robin is a him. Okay, yeah, I apologize. For some for some reason, I always think Robin is a girl's name, but it's not always the case.
It's weird because in like Robin I think in the States is a very, very popular girl's name. And in England it's a very popular boy's name. So
Yeah.
it's like that's kind of weird. And it's also really weird when you meet somebody of the opposite sex with your name. And
Oh
it's
yeah.
like,
Well, it was super weird meeting a dude who had my wife's name. I was like, okay,
it's weird.
this isn't at all strange. But yeah, like most fictional characters named Robin are men. I'm just realizing, thinking about it, that I can think of off the top of my head. So I don't know where that comes from. Anyway,
All two of them.
let's talk about something else. All right, so we're a little early today, so a couple other funny stories we can get to. There's a YouTuber named Alan Pan. I don't know anything about this YouTuber, but he did something rather amusing. As part of a resolution to get more fit and healthy, he turned a treadmill into a game controller, and has been playing Death Stranding with it. Actually walking, pulling stuff, running, basically making full motion controls for the game using a treadmill. That just sounds really funny. There's a video on it, so you can check that out if you're interested. But that's pretty interesting idea. The Last of Us Part 2 has...
Oh, this is funny.
Yeah, Last of Us Part 2 has an M rating. And the M rating says it's rated M for scenes of nudity and sexual content. Now this is a PlayStation exclusive game, and this seems to fly in the face of PlayStation's new content policies.
Yeah, where there's no nudity at all allowed on their platform at all. And strange that, I mean, they've already, censored and banned, just outright banned several developers from Japan and several games from Japan. Just straight out, just said, nope, you are no longer making games for our thing because you had, not that they had full nudity, just because they had, kind of like super teasing / like not really nudity, but like, where there's always like a plant or a light beam just so perfectly placed, stuff like that. Oh, those people were out on their ear. Those people had games that had been being worked on for years, that was just about to launch, and in one case, they had the censor kept on saying, "Nope, this isn't right," and they're like, "Well, what about the game isn't right?" And they go, "Well, we're not telling you. Fix it. You mean fix everything in the game to be more along the lines of what you want? Yes, but you're not going to tell us what's wrong." Nope. Okay. So they go in, they change one or two things, they send it off, gets sent back. Nope, different thing now. It's a different thing. Different. So we fixed the thing, maybe, but you're not telling us whether we did or not. So they go back and forth and back and forth. Some of these people like almost lost their minds. There's one developer in particular who very small team, he had a nervous breakdown because of this. And this is absolutely hypocritical to the maximum now, because again, these games didn't have direct nudity in them, but and things like Devil May Cry didn't have direct nudity in them. They just had a butt crack, a little bit of a butt crack that Sony went into the game and added a lens flare for, without talking to the devs. But now, in their flagship title for the next console, oh, hey, look at this, guys. Just so you know, it's got full nudity in it.
And apparently, to get an M rating, it's graphic or prolonged depictions of nudity, according to the ESRB website.
I can't, like, and we called this before. I said right from the get-go that you're going to see this.
Oh, yeah, they're going to bend the rules for the big titles.
For anything that's going to make them money, they're gonna open the door all the way. But then anytime, any moment that there's something, that they don't like, just they might not like that particular person's sense of uh, of social whatever. Well, they're gone, and they're gone in a brutal, difficult way that nearly bankrupts them. But they're okay with doing that because they're they're the new arbiters of what you can and cannot play.
Yeah.
So
yes, we talked about that previously in the context of Cyberpunk 2077, because we know, I mean, that's definitely going to have that M rating. It is going to be on the PlayStation though, and it apparently, as far as we know, it's not going to be a special censored version for the PlayStation.
yeah.
I mean, we're talking about somewhat old news now. I mean, could that change? Possibly. All right, and what else? There was one other thing that you wanted to talk about. Lawbreakers?
Yeah. So Cliff, I mean, I had said a few times that I wasn't going to really talk about this issue anymore, but Cliff came out and said, "Oh, the real reason why my game failed is because I was just too politically minded, and I just talked too much about politics." When I think of Cliff Belinsky and all of his game development, I don't even know his politics. I don't even know his what he's talking about. Is he talking about like governmental politics? Is he talking about like international politics? Is he talking about like ideological politics, or is he talking about like the politics of like game development in the modern world? Like, is he talking about like the differences between the consoles, or like what does he mean by that? And I can't tell you because I don't remember him ever. I don't ever remember his stance on any of that stuff. The one thing that I remember the most about why people didn't want to play his stupid game, Lawbreakers, is because it was disgusting and gross. You played guys who looked like meth addicts who were just nasty people. Shocker, most of the gaming public prefer to play something cute and fluffy or just badass. They want to see some cool like head visor come down and like chink chink like Iron Man, just eyes light up and it's like I'm gonna kick butt now, and it's like I like that. That's cool. That's awesome. That is something that's cool. Having a guy sit there in a cutscene scratching his like backside looking like an absolute piece of garbage, and that's your hero. That's the hero you are gonna play as. Guy looks like a meth addict, totally messed up, got all these weird gross tattoos, got stuff coming out of him, gross places. No, we play those games every once in a while for like to just kind of gross us out from time to time. Cliff, your game failed because you don't know how to create good characters. You could have stuck with what you did before, just cool looking big guys. But that was a jinx. You lucked out on that. If you had made the game so that it actually had interesting, cool looking characters and characters that were like both cool, both badass, and uh, uh, sexy and cute and adorable. If you had come in with some of those characters, your game would have done a lot better than coming out with characters that I would never want to be in the same room with these types of people ever. Because they're just filthy, gross, really like and that's what they were. They're lawbreakers, they're convicted murderers. It's like, again, maybe like every once in a while you have a story of like some real bad guy or like whatever, and there's some funny stuff that you can pull in with that, or some meaningful like story change or character arc there. But to have every single character like that where they're just gross, you feel like you need to take a shower. Like, I never played the game. When I watched other people play the game, I wanted to take a shower because it was just so gross.
Yeah. People
That's
like
why your game failed, Blitz or Cliff. Like, geez.
Cliff Blazinski. Yes, people people can get behind characters that are rough around the edges, characters that are scoundrels, characters that are, kind of, what's the word I'm looking for? The anti-hero in some ways, but they have to have some kind of redeeming quality. When it's just, oh, let's make a game about a bunch of criminals and are they like fighting for redemption? No, they're just criminals.
They're just trash.
The guy who wins is gonna take his money and go, buy drugs and waste the rest of his life. It's like okay.
And it's like the games, like, I know the idea that he was going for. I know the concept that he's going for. And it was really popular back in the early aughts, where it's like the Alien versus Predator thing. Not the Alien versus Predator thing, the Predator thing, where they're on the Predators was the movie where they get, there's all these bad people that get ported, military bad people get ported to this planet, and the Predators are out to like kill them all slowly. I get what he's going for with that. That's something you watch once or twice every few years for an hour, and then you move on with your life. This is not something that you immerse yourself in daily, which is what people were going to do. The other thing that you have to, the other thing with character development that you have to do is you have to remember the kiss, marry, kill list. If you bring 3 characters to any of your players and say, murder, kiss, kill, however it works, not murder, kiss, kill, marry, kiss, kill, marry, you gotta marry one of them, kiss one of them, kill one of them. It's like for me, that's easy to do with as much as I dislike, as much as I dislike current games from coming out of Blizzard, or even Riot for that matter, I can take a lot of those lists of those characters and I can file that away and I can feel good about it. Like I'm not like, I'm okay with this list. I could do that. I can't do that with your game, Cliff. Your game is filled with like, okay, I'd rather kill all of these characters because none of them have any intrinsic emotional connection with me. And again, you might think that that's weird. You might think that that's odd. You might think that that's not normal. But I'm telling you, it is. It is normal. And I know you were told this too. Because this is the other thing that peeves me off about this. Cliff was told several times that he had to make his characters more relatable and more cute and more interactive, and that he had to have some variety of characters there. And he shot it down every single time. I have it on a very good source that this is what happened. So Cliff, no, you didn't. Your game didn't fail because you didn't know how to advertise it. Your game didn't fail because you assumed that you were just talking too much of your politics. Because nobody remembers your politics. Everybody who's in the industry who knows why your game failed knows that your game failed because you had no likable characters. Period. You had no characters that people wanted to cosplay as, people wanted to show up as. I mean, there's gross in a way that people will cosplay Junkrat or that big other fat guy from the Overwatch game. People will do that and they'll find good and cool ways to do that. Nobody wanted to cosplay your crap because they were just ugly. They were ugly and gross. And you don't take people who, for a living or for, a major hobby, they like to make themselves look cool and look cute and look adorable or look sexy or whatever. You can't get those people to line up and make themselves look like, they're going to show up at a convention and the security guard is going to show up and say, excuse me, sir, you're going to take those drugs that you're doing, you're going to take those and go somewhere else. This is a family event here. You're not allowed to come in here. And then to have an argument, no, I'm dressed as a character from one of these games. You're dressed as a hobo who's on amped up on drugs. That's what you're dressed up as? Well, no, I'm dressed up from a character from a game. What game would do that? So, Again,
all right, point made, definitely. And this is just reminding me one of my favorite things we used to do at conventions was the playing the Kiss, Marry, Kill game with various cosplayers and their favorite characters from whatever they were cosplaying as. I'd love to
It was-
get back into doing
was
that
always
again.
good, yeah.
That's some of the funniest cosplay videos we have on our channel are those ones, especially the Ruby one's really good. There is an Overwatch one. We had three people, 2 girls and 1 guy, all of them dressed as Diva. Yeah,
all of the guy won that, like, seriously.
he was
out of a
hilarious. He was absolutely hilarious.
Yeah, he was great. He had the humor for it. He had the attitude for it. He had the he was cool, relaxed. He could just do it. This is what you want from your characters in your game. You want people to be able to dress up as them, go out, have fun, meet people. That's what a game experience is on the back, like on the where it hits the real people. That's the kind of thing where it hits the average player, and by real people I mean like people who go out and do things in life with the product, with the content, not just gamers on the gamer end side of things. It's about gameplay, it's about fun, it's about connecting with a character, or just admiring a character. Some people, they want to connect emotionally with a character. Some people, they just want to admire that character like a work of art. Other people want to be entertained by the character. Other people want to be titillated by that character. That's the universe in which we exist in. If you're trying to get anything else out of that, you're going to have a hard time, because people don't want to come home after a difficult day, sit down to play their favorite game, and be screamed at by something that they don't enjoy. That's just the way it is. It's a hobby. It's a relaxation. It's not a...
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah. Absolutely. I think your point is made loud and clear. All right, and with that, I think we have come to the end of the show for today. All right, so thank you so much, everybody, for the great conversation in the chat. Thank you for supporting the show by listening live or after the fact. Please do not forget to slam that like button. We really appreciate it. We are humbled and incredibly grateful when you hit that like button. And also the subscribe button, the notification bell, and if you are listening after the fact, leaving comments below is very much appreciated as well. All of that helps us out. All of that helps the YouTube algorithm. Plus, then we get to see what you guys think of the show. We always want to deliver a product that you enjoy. I want to extend a special thank you to our Patreon supporters and channel members who make this content possible. Our big damn heroes over on Patreon, Josh, Robin, and our 2 anonymous big damn heroes over there. I want to thank everybody who's on the Patreon at the lower levels as well. We appreciate there's no amount too small over there. So thank you all so much. Yeah. Our channel members here on YouTube: Jason Cropper, Mr. Paz Zernick, Jer Schultz, Game Notes, Night City Punk, and Terror K. If you're listening after the fact on SoundCloud, iTunes, Spotify, or any of the other platforms this podcast goes out to, we appreciate your interactions there as well. And don't forget, you can join the live show on YouTube Wednesdays and Saturdays, where you can interact with us and other listeners, be a part of the discussion. See the Discord server for exact times and schedules. By the way, every Friday, while it is in its initial run, we are doing live reviews of Star Trek Picard each episode. We're not watching the show live, of course, but after just a little while after the show airs, we're doing reviews. It's been a fun time. If you're a Star Trek fan, if you are watching the show, definitely come out and join us. Don't. Yeah, it's gotten spicy. It's been a lot of fun. We're enjoying the show, and doing those reviews has been fun. You don't have to watch the show to come join us, but there will be massive spoilers, so be aware of that. All right, the Augmented Reality Podcast is a presentation of the Triple S League. Check out our YouTube channel for game guides, reviews, comedy, news updates, and tons more quality gaming content. My name is Ash. On behalf of Cyb and CyberPup, thank you all so much for listening. We'll talk to you again very soon.